It's time for Recipe of the Day. This is a lasagna recipe that makes enough for 2 people. Now, the reason I created this recipe was because lasagna seems like one of those things that's just too much work if you're just making it for 2 people. You're always going to want to make that big batch and have it in the freezer, portion it out for the freezer, have a whole one ready to bake in the freezer, all of that, which is great if that's what you want to do. But sometimes you just want lasagna and you don't want to have to be packaging things or plotting all of that out. Just cozy comfort. That's what this recipe is. And so in creating this recipe, I took a lot of extra steps to make sure that it was as simple as possible. If you want to go through the whole big effort of a whole big lasagna, then you're going to do that. If you just want quick and easy comfort, you're going to do this. Now, I say quick, I mean the actual assembly of the lasagna. From the time that you start until it goes into the oven is very, very quick. You are only going to dirty 1 bowl, 1 cutting board, and the loaf pan that the lasagna is cooked in. That is all. So dishes are going to be a breeze later too. And then it goes into the oven. It does cook for quite a while. It's like an hour, but that's almost all hands off time. Really, really easy. So that is what I've done for this lasagna recipe. And that is why I did it that way. I really wanted no waste, very little effort, but still all the comfort and deliciousness, you know? And that is really what I'm always trying to do in the Cook for 2 community. That is a community for people who are cooking for small households and they want to be budget friendly and save time, reduce waste, and just streamline all of their cooking so that it is just right for 2 people. If you are interested in our membership community, head to cookfor2.us. That's cookfor2.us, and you can join us there. Okay, now let us dive into making this lasagna. You're going to start by preheating the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you're going to get a 4 by 8 inch loaf pan. That's just a standard size loaf pan, and you're going to spray or lightly oil the inside with cooking oil. Set that aside. Then you're going to make your ricotta cheese mixture. So get out a small bowl and crack an egg into there, whisk it up, and then add a cup of ricotta cheese, a 1/4 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a little pinch of black pepper. Stir that up and set it aside. Then you're getting some marinara sauce. It's 1.5 cups is what you need, which is actually what's in 2 8-ounce cans. So if you want to buy exactly what you need, you get 2 of the 8-ounce cans. That is perfect. You won't even have a half-used jar of tomato sauce going into your fridge after making this. Yeah, I've thought of that too, right? Okay, so I said 1.5 cups of marinara sauce. That is if you're going to be using regular uncooked lasagna noodles, just the regular ones that just say lasagna noodles on them. If you are using the oven-ready lasagna noodles, then you're going to use 1.25 cups of the marinara sauce. It just needs a little bit less. So you can use plain old regular lasagna noodles. You do not boil them first or anything. You can use just regular lasagna noodles in this recipe. And if that is what you have, then you're going to be using 1.5 cups of marinara. If you have the oven ready ones, then you'll use just a little bit less of the sauce. It'll be 1.25 cup. Now, if you have a fairly plain marinara sauce, just plain tomato sauce, you can add a little bit of Italian seasoning to that. About a 1/2 teaspoon of it goes into the sauce. Give that a stir. You can do that right in the can. You know what I mean? You don't have to dirty any kind of bowl for that if you don't want to. Okay, so now our ricotta mixture is ready. Our sauce is ready. We just need to talk about the meat. So the recipe calls for 2 cooked chicken sausage links that are 3 ounces each. What I mean is the fully cooked sausage links that are sold like with the kielbasa, over there with the wieners quite often. There are brands of fully cooked chicken sausage there that are flavored. That way you're actually getting a lot of flavor into your lasagna from the meat as well as from all the other things we've been adding. Now the ones that I like are Italian with mozzarella flavored. The brand is Aidel's, but I think there are other brands at different stores and depending on where you live, I think Al Fresco is one of them. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for, and you need 2 of the sausage links. Now I will say that instead of the Italian flavored chicken sausage, you can use kielbasa. I've tried that. It's a different flavor spin for sure, but super tasty. Or you can use any kind kind of leftover cooked meat that you want. You'll want half a pound of cooked chicken that's chopped up, or ground meat like ground beef already cooked. You can use cooked sliced meatballs. You know how you can buy meatballs at the grocery store that are already cooked and frozen? You can use those and slice those up, or you can make this vegetarian by using a 14-ounce can of cannellini beans. Those are the white kidney beans. You just drain those and add those instead of the meat. Really, really great option. So really anything here, you just want it to be something that doesn't require cooking, because we don't want the fat from that to leach out into the sauce, because it's going to make the lasagna greasy. Okay, so assuming that you have the sausage links I was talking about, you want to finely chop them. What I do is to cut each sausage lengthwise in half and then again in quarters. So I have like 4 long strips of sausage, and then I chop that up. And the reason I like it finely chopped is just so it spreads out really well through the lasagna so that you get a little bit in each bite. Okay, now you have all of the components and it is time to assemble. So you get out that loaf pan and you're going to spoon about 1/5 of the sauce into there. Now, if you are using the 1.5 cups of sauce, it's going to be just a little bit less than 1/3 of a cup each time you add the sauce. If you are using 1.25 cups of sauce because you have the oven ready noodles, then you're going to use 1/4 cup of sauce each time. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you in the recipe for this, I have the instructions that say like do this noodle, then sauce, then ricotta, like that. But there's also a little key at the bottom that just tells you all the different layers in order without a lot of words so that it's easy to know what to do next. Okay. So you're starting with the sauce and then you're adding 1 lasagna noodle. Now they fit almost perfectly in there, but sometimes they're just a little bit too big, in which case you need to break them to just get the noodle to just fit into the spots. It doesn't matter if you have to break the noodle a little bit, it's all going to work out. And it also doesn't matter if the noodle isn't filling the whole loaf pan, it's going to suck up sauce and kind of expand. Okay. So we did a layer of sauce. We put 1 noodle on top. Then you're doing another layer of sauce. Then you're going in with 1/3 of your ricotta mixture. Spread that out as best as you can. And then another noodle on top of that, another 1/3 of the ricotta mixture, and then half of your chopped up sausage goes on there, then a layer of sauce, a noodle, the last bit of ricotta, the rest of the sausage, then the sauce, a noodle, and some sauce. And that is it. It is all in the loaf pan at that point. Like I said, the recipe that I'm linking to for the lasagna does have these layers listed, so it's very easy to see. After you finish that last layer of sauce, you are covering your loaf pan with 2 layers of aluminum foil. That's just going to really help it get a good seal, because it's that seal that helps everything steam inside and cook the noodles. Then I like to put the loaf pan on a baking sheet. I'm going to tell you, I've never had this boil over, but it gets a little bit close and I would hate for you to have a mess in the oven. I also just find the sheet pan easier to take in and out of the oven than the little loaf pan, you know? Okay, so you put your foil covered loaf pan onto a baking sheet, then that goes into the 400-degree Fahrenheit oven for 30 minutes. Then take it out of the oven, take the foil lid off. The sauce is not going to be bubbling at this point, or not bubbling much. That's normal. If the top noodle isn't fully submerged in sauce, just push it down using a spatula a little bit. Now at this point, you're going to add some mozzarella cheese. A 1/2 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese gets sprinkled on top, and then you're putting it back into the oven uncovered. We're not doing the foil this time. It is in there for 15 to 20 minutes. You want it nice and bubbling and the cheese melted. You can go longer if you want it more browned. You could even put it under the broiler. However long you're leaving it in there, you then take it out and you let it rest uncovered, no foil on it, for 15 minutes. Don't worry, it is going to stay hot. It's very hot in there, but you need it to rest so that it can set up and be sliceable into slices. When it's all hot and bubbling and the noodles are all slippery, you try to slice into that and you're just going to have a plate of, well, pasta with sauce. It's still going to taste good. You're just not going to get those nice lasagna slices, you know? Okay. After the 15 minutes, take a knife and run it all around the edge of the pan, going all the way to the bottom. You're just making sure that nothing is stuck. You don't want the lasagna stuck to the pan when you're trying to take out your slice. Then you can cut it into 2 slices and serve. Use a spatula to get underneath there. And yeah, it's delicious. You're going to love this recipe. I'm telling you, it just makes it so possible to have lasagna anytime. really, really easy. And, there's nothing to freeze or deal with at the end, which is such a nice bonus if you've had a long day or are tired. So that is the recipe for you. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is December 4th of 2025. And if you like the idea of this 4-2 recipe that has all of that thinking done for you so that you're not having a lot of waste, using a lot of half packages, all of that kind of thing, you definitely need to join cookfor2.us. You're going to love it. We're doing live cooking demos, live meal planning sessions. We are helping each other. Those of us who are cooking for small households, we know the grocery stores aren't designed for us. Bulk packaging, all of that. This is where the solutions are to make it easier. Come and join us, cookfor2.us. There are over 75 ad-free recipes, all designed for 2 people. You will find what you need to make dinner a breeze. Okay, that is at cookfor2.us. That's cookfor2.us. And I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, cookfor2.us. And from this podcast, recipe of the day, I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.